Happy Sunday, Tampa Bay. We're with you for another week here on the Duncan Duo Real Estate Show, like I am every Sunday at 10, talking all things real estate, all things Tampa Bay real estate here on WFLA News. When we're not on air, check us out at The Duncan Duo, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. You can also follow me personally at The Andrew Duncan. On Instagram, I think I'm the same thing on Facebook. My screen name might be a little different, but if you search Andrew Duncan, and I'm not hard to find with the blue check mark. So follow us on social media. We're always putting out relevant real estate content, letting you know what's going on in Tampa Bay, what the statistics look like, what the market looks like, what we're seeing, what we're experiencing. And today I actually want to talk about some predictions. And, this year's real estate market, one of the biggest obstacles with this year's real estate market continues to be interest rates. But one thing that gets misunderstood, I see a lot of things out there about how Tampa is one of the lower performing real estate markets in the country, and the Gulf Coast is this. And a lot of it is intending on trying to make people think that there's something bad about our real estate market, or it's heading in a bad direction. But the reality is it's just hurricane hangover. If the hurricanes didn't happen, our real estate market would be in a completely different place. And when you get hit with back-to-back, natural disasters, of course, it's going to have a lingering effect on real estate market. Houses got flooded, insurance claims happened. And I talked to friends that operate in markets around the country, like, some in Louisiana, some in Texas, that had also been hit with massive storms. And they had told me, look, it's a couple of years before things start to normalize in your real estate market, assuming similar market conditions. So the reality is that from a long-term perspective, the hurricanes that happened, again, assuming no other major hurricanes happen this year, the hurricanes that happened created a short-term challenge on a real estate market. Short-term, not a long-term one. Not enough damage, not enough homes destroyed, a short-term one. So it's created this incredible buying opportunity for people that are looking at buying long-term on water or waterfront and waterfront areas because of the hangover and the fear that people have. I think way too many people let fear motivate them. But if you've paid attention to real estate long enough, you know that historically waterfront real estate outperforms everything else, although it isn't as much this year. And historically, buying it over the long term has done incredibly well. So it's created this great buying opportunity for people that are buying for the long term. Now, of course, there's still a little bit of hurricane hangover. It's going to take a little bit of time to completely get through it. But a lot of the fundamentals of our real estate market are more impacted by that than anything else. When I see that prices have softened this year, and I hear people saying, oh, there's problems with our local economy, there's problems with this. No, there's not. The problems realistically are a national one from an interest rate perspective. And the only thing that's caused our real estate market to have a short-term blip on the radar were the storms. The further we get away from the storms, the more our real estate market will improve. So if you're a home buyer or an investor right now, I haven't seen a better time to buy in my 20 years in terms of buying for the long term. I think it's created a great buying opportunity for people that can qualify with higher rates or that have cash for long-term holds, simply because we've seen prices soften. Buyers have a better negotiating advantage, and I think our market is going to very quickly escalate back in the upward trajectory. And I want to explain why, but I also want to explain to the people out there that don't really understand real estate. They say, oh, home prices across the nation are down. Completely irrelevant. Oh, this, market happening in New York, or this is happening here. Pretty much irrelevant. The only thing that really matters for our real estate market is what's going on here. And there's some unique economic factors that are happening in Tampa Bay and in Florida, as well as the likelihood that we're going to see interest rate relief over the next several months and likely well into 2026, we're going to see some Fed rate cuts. We know we're going to see Fed rate cuts. That's what's holding everything back nationally. So at the same time that we see Fed rate cuts start to happen, there are some major proposals out there that could really maximize the number of people moving here, the number of people investing in real estate, the number of people deciding to sell their real estate, as well as how affordable we become. We know during COVID. So what I'm telling you is I believe the second half of 2026 and 2027 are going to be enormous spikes for our real estate market if, and again, it remains to be seen. There's some curveballs here, but there's some major things that I want to talk about to tell you why now is the time to buy, why you shouldn't wait until these things happen, because I think we're going to see a COVID 2.0 surge. And I don't mean we're wearing masks and we're imprisoned in our homes and having to be forced to do certain things. I don't mean that. I mean what happened in real estate, which is everything spiked. Okay, interest rates got cheap, and we had this huge surge of population movement because as people stayed home and they started to evaluate their lifestyle a little bit differently, and they realized how much they're paying in state income taxes, and some of those states were raising income taxes at a time when people couldn't even go out and enjoy what they were paying taxes for. People moved in masses to Florida. We saw a huge population surge. That has softened, obviously, post storms, and again, a lot of this depends on not having massive storm impact again, especially a back-to-back like we had. I mean, we can have some 3s and 4s, and we can have some hits and, a little north of us, a little south of us, but we really had 2 that were just massively direct in terms of their damage in Tampa Bay. So what I'm saying is we know interest rates are going to drop. We know Trump is going to replace the Fed chair. We know next year with the way the economy is going, we know Fed rate cuts are coming. And as those get closer, mortgage rates start to soften and reduce prior to the expectation. So the mortgage markets move kind of ahead of the Fed rate. So if it's expected that we're going to see a 25 bips drop, then, mortgage rates move in that direction before it actually gets announced. Okay. So we know mortgage rates are trending towards seeing some Fed rate cuts this year and considerably more next year, and maybe even in 2027. You hear the president saying the rate needs to drop by 3 points. I don't know if we'll get that big a jump. If we do that, again, COVID 2.0 happens really fast. But let me explain why Florida specifically and Tampa Bay are going to win in 2026 and 2027. Well, first off, you'll have, again, hopefully, you have another year removed, more months and up to another year removed from the hurricanes. So the clean out of the hurricanes, those homes get renovated, those homes get resold, those homes get tore down, new ones get built. Those new ones come in, they're going to be at higher prices. That pulls prices up. Those things are underway, and they're going to make some of our waterfront areas become, frankly, even higher priced because so many of the single-story homes will just have to get torn down and new McMansions get built. So there will be some movement there. The second part of this that really comes into play, there is legislation right now that could end up hitting at the same time that we start to see rate cuts. Now, I want you to understand that the market didn't pop and explode because of rate cuts. It exploded because of what rate cuts did. It made payments massively lower and affordable. People care less about the rate than they do about the actual payment. Now, look, I could go on in an economics lesson about how that's flawed logic, but I'm not going to change the majority of the public's perception on this. They buy things based on the payment, okay? That's the reality of the majority of Americans, and that's what moves the real estate needle. They buy things based on payments, okay? And then they hold them and don't sell them and restrict the market when they want to avoid tax or avoid their net number changing. So one thing that is being discussed presently was Marjorie Taylor Greene put a bill on the agenda. It's being discussed. The president has supported it, abolishing capital gains tax on the sale of primary residences. So there is a good runway, a likely possible runway that some semblance of that happens. Okay. Maybe not necessarily the whole thing, but again, some major tax relief that will help some people that were waiting to sell because they didn't want to pay their taxes. It'll help some movement there. Okay. It'll also help encourage people to buy because now they get to buy an asset that when they go to sell it, they don't pay capital gains on, compared to a lot of people right now that say real estate isn't doing well enough, so I don't want to buy it. I'd rather put my money somewhere else and rent, because when I go to sell my real estate, if it explodes or goes above a certain number, then I've got to pay some cap gains. Okay. And there is a massive part of the population that has equity above the present cap gains restriction of $250 for a single person and $500,000 for a married couple. The second legislation that could happen that is also has a really strong chance of happening is the abolishment of property taxes for homestead residents in Florida. That's like a 1-2 punch, okay? Those two things happen and our real estate market skyrockets because people care about the payment. You'll hear people all day long complain about how much their insurance is, but they're only complaining about it relative to what their actual payment is. The majority of people aren't stroking a check for the insurance. It's included in their payment. When the taxes go away, if they do go away, or if there's some semblance of massive relief and it drops the payments to what home payments would have been at lower interest rates during COVID, we're going to see an influx of population again because people are going to run from northern liberal areas where they have high taxes. Our market will pop. Our market will explode at the same time that interest rates start to cut. So if interest rates start to cut, you're lowering payments, and then you get rid of property taxes for the majority of people, especially the homestead people. And you now don't pay cap gains on real estate. You're going to see, again, real estate for homestead people. You're going to see renters get off the fence. You're going to see people move here, and our real estate market will pop. We will see COVID 2.0. So if you're sitting on the fence and waiting, or if you're a real estate agent and you're out there grinding, keep grinding. You're going to get to pay dirt. The market is, put the right discipline in place and establish the right discipline and take the right action right now. Call and talk to more people, serve more clients, and then the market is going to sprinkle some benefit on you in 2026, 2027 with even some semblance. Even if these things don't pass in their entirety, the fact that they're being discussed and they could pass even in some reduced form will have a considerable impact on improving our real estate market in 2026 and 2027. So I want to talk next. I've talked about this before, but I've had some people say, "Oh, the real estate market is cooked." I just think it's hilarious. The reason our real estate market is struggling, obviously, is higher interest rates. We had some inflation. A lot of that's improving, but it's storm contingent. And I want to tell you why the real estate market isn't going to crash. There is zero chance of a residential real estate crash, and I want to say that zero in lieu of a natural disaster, major nuclear terror, something crazy. There's no chance of a residential real estate market crash. And I want to share why after a quick break here on the Duncan Duo Real Estate Show. So we're back here on the Duncan Duo Show talking about the Tampa Bay real estate market. Andrew Duncan at the Duncan Duo. The first segment of the show, I talked about what we're seeing in the real estate market and why I believe 2025 right now is one of the best opportunities to buy real estate in a long time in Tampa Bay, especially if you're looking at waterfront, beachfront, luxury stuff. Man, it's on sale, especially if you're buying for the long term. And I talked about how the storms and the hurricanes we had last year are really the main thing that's driven our real estate market not to perform as well as others across the country. Instead of having stable prices like we're seeing throughout the country where prices aren't really changing that much, we're seeing a little bit more of a drop because of all those damaged homes that are selling at lower prices. So then they show up and they say, oh, it pulls all the averages down. So they say, oh, the average sale price is down in Tampa 6%. Well, of course it is, because you had $600,000 houses that someone got $200,000 in insurance on and then sold it for $350,000. Yeah, of course the average prices are down. You'd be an idiot to think that the hurricanes wouldn't do that to people. That doesn't mean it's across the board, and it certainly doesn't mean it's going to have an enormous long-term impact, especially because I believe we will see Fed rate cuts this year. We'll see massive Fed rate cuts next year, in my opinion, and we'll see property tax and capital gains tax relief based on bills that are being pushed right now. Maybe not in their entirety like they're being pushed, but in some fashion of those things at the same time that rates drop. I believe 26 and 27 for Florida, for Tampa Bay, we're going to see a resurgent, recovered, highly fast-growing real estate market. So I teased just before the break that I want to tell you why we won't see a real estate market crash. I've talked about this a lot, but I'm still getting it from people because they look at the statistics and they just don't know how to interpret them, and they don't know how to factor in the external factors like the hurricanes that were unprecedented. So when you look at the real estate market, you say, oh, the market's cooked. This is a short-term thing that will recover long-term, especially with what we know is coming from the government. And especially because the real estate market, residential real estate market, has a safe protective bubble over it. The government won't let the residential real estate market crash. They won't. They learned their lesson. Them and the Fed, they learned the lesson. Foreclosures are what pull prices down and destroy the real estate market, not defaults, not people being behind on their mortgage. Okay. Foreclosures. Foreclosures are lessened because underwriting standards are higher, but foreclosures don't end up happening today because banks, instead of just rushing right to foreclosure, which was their old calling card, now they do what's called forbearance. There's so much equity built up. Unless you bought the last couple of years, most people have a massive amount of equity. So when they hit that rough patch, what used to happen is they'd end up having to sell the home short because property values hadn't risen. Well, the majority of people today have a massive amount of equity. So the equity drop hasn't been substantial enough to rid those people of their equity so they can still sell and get out. Or they're in a lower rate environment. They could rent their house for more than their house, than their payment is. So the foreclosure risk is really, back when we had the Great Recession, it was a, decade-long path of people that could get into foreclosure. Well, today we had so much equity run up that equity has to drop dramatically enough to where we'd see a mass number of foreclosures. And we're just not going to. The banks will do forbearance. They'll allow the person to add as long as they've got equity, they'll add those missed payments to the principal. And they'll kick the can down the road, and then the person eventually ends up recovering. Whereas before, they just rush right into foreclosure, or homeowners would rush right out into hiring a lawyer and trying to do a short sale. Well, now they don't have to because they have equity. The second part of that is the banks learn their lesson. They know that if they foreclose on a massive amount of properties, they're going to inhibit their ability to loan. So they don't want to foreclose way more than ever. So they do forbearance, they do workouts, they also package up. The banks are in bed with hedge funds and institutional investors. We've never had more property in this country owned by Wall Street, by cash, by people that don't have a mortgage. And basically what happens is these homes that go into foreclosure, a lot of them, the banks will then package them off to another bank who will package them off to a hedge fund. The hedge fund will go out and tell the person to get out. We'll give you some money to get you out here. Then they rent the property and they hold the home. Whereas before, that property would end up hitting as a foreclosure. It would drive prices down in a neighborhood and it would complete the new low. And then that was a domino effect. Well, now they just don't foreclose on them the same way. They package them up. They sell them to other institutions in bulk debt sales and buys. And then it's never reported as a foreclosure. You don't ever see the dollar amount that's for that actual property. They deed them and they do them in large transactions in bulk sales and bulk buys to keep the public from seeing those lower prices that likely were negotiated. So the crash, it just won't happen. Those things won't hit appraisals to pull values down. Foreclosures just will never happen at the same pace because the banks figured out the game. They want to keep a bubble around residential real estate. And then lastly, improved underwriting standards, the massive amount of cash buyers that we have, and then the small number of people that don't have equity to sell comparably. Okay, so will there be foreclosures? Of course, there's always going to be foreclosure. It's going to be a small number. It's not ever going to get to a number that makes the market crash because they're protecting it. There's like a little bubble around it. They're keeping it safe. So if you think the real estate market is going to crash, look, there may be other aspects of the economy that don't do well. There may be things that don't perform, but the real estate market will never again. It will never, ever, ever again do what it did in the Great Recession, ever. They figured it out. They know how to manipulate the game and play the system so that those foreclosures that are what pull the market prices down and cause the market to crash never actually happen. They won't actually happen. They will never get to foreclosure, the majority of them. So hopefully that makes sense. Again, makes you more optimistic about investing in real estate and the long-term viability of it. But also, again, whether you agree with what the Fed and the banks, the institutions, the hedge funds, and the government has done to manipulate it, it's neither here nor there, whether you agree with it or not. The reality is that's what they've done. Forbearance changed the game during COVID, and now that's their new model. That's their new way to move homeowners out, okay, or to work things out with them in lieu of trying to take the property back and then inhibiting each other's ability to loan and create more real estate transactions. So hopefully that makes sense and helps you understand why the real estate market won't ever have the same crash experience that we had during the Great Recession. We'll be back after a quick break here on the Duncan Duo Real Estate Show. So we're back here on the Duncan Duo Show talking about the Tampa Bay real estate market. And I've been talking about, what we've been experiencing in our market and how things have softened and the market's showing signs of weakness and how much the hurricanes have to do with that. But I also talked about the prediction that I believe we'll see a big real estate surge in 26 and 27 when Fed starts to cut rates. We start to see some interest rate relief, number one. And then number two, a surge is very possible and very likely when we see some property tax and cap gain tax relief that is definitely being talked about in the government. But the idea that prices are massively dropping is flawed logic. When I look at the statistics today, I see an average sale price of about $490 when you combine Hillsborough and Pinellas County. The last 3 months, we've had 4,700, 4,500, 4,500, and 4,500 sales. Now, that is markedly off numbers that were close to 7,000 a few years ago, okay? So we are seeing fewer sales. But our average sale price, while it's down, it's not massively down. It's stabilized. So the last several months, okay, to put into perspective, 455, 469, 469, 471, 482, 489. What does that tell you? Prices have actually recovered a little bit. So the data that you see out there saying things like, oh, the market's crashing, it's old data. It's looking at stuff from like February. So we have started to recover in prices. We have kind of stabilized. Of course, we've seen some drop in our sale prices. But I also want you to understand that a lot of that was hurricanes and a lot of that is starting to recover. And so when I look at inventory, okay, inventory was steadily rising for a long time, okay, and now it's kind of stable. 20,000, 21,000, 22,000, 22,000, 21,000. 6 months of inventory down to 4.82. Okay. So the worst part of our real estate market was definitely more, late last year, early this year. We've gotten through some of it. Now, is it sunshine and rainbows? No, but it's better. And it's showing signs of improvement. I believe, again, if you're a real estate agent, man, buckle down and keep pushing and keep grinding. There's going to be some economic things sprinkled on top of your efforts. The harder you work right now, because it is hard out there, there aren't as many sales. Sales are harder. The harder you work right now, the more you're setting up the discipline for what you can accomplish when the economic advantage is improved. We see some rate relief. We see some property tax relief. Payments go down to COVID-era level payments because taxes could go away for homestead properties. And then, of course, potentially even being talked about at the federal level, the abolishment of paying capital gains on the sale of your primary residence. So those things are all heading in a really good direction. Statistically, again, average sale price in Tampa, $489,000. We had 4,507 sales in June. List to sale price ratio of 97%, 68 days on market. Again, 68 days on market, it was 72 in February. So it's come down a little bit. 6 months of inventory back in January. It's now 4.8. It's come down a little bit. So our real estate market is starting to show some signs of getting past the hangover of the hurricanes, but it's not there yet. So if you're a real estate agent and you've struggled and you need some help, we are hiring. You can go to jointheduo.com. You can set a consultation with us. You can reach out to our office at 813-359-8990. We are in growth mode. I actually increased my advertising budget this year because I am setting the company up for success, and I expect that 2026 and 2027 will be banner years, again, assuming no major hurricane disasters. That being said, right now for a real estate agent, what you really need is you need to buckle down. There are a lot of real estate agents that are going to fail out. We've got one of the highest failure rates in the world for employment types. Real estate agents fail at a super high level. If you're not accomplishing what you want where you are, maybe you're not working hard enough. Maybe you need somebody else that can motivate and inspire you and push you. Maybe you need the tools and resources of leads that we have. Maybe you need the coaching and mentoring on how to build yourself up and how to become a better salesperson. I told several of my agents this week things that I believe they could do if they committed to double their income. And if you want to double your income, and you want to be a part of something special, again, jointheduo.com. You can apply for any of our open positions. You can set up via our Calendly link, a private, confidential consultation. And we'd love the opportunity to help coach you, mentor you, and grow you and your real estate career. But we're not the cheap brokerage. We're not the team that's that's cutting deals and that's giving away the house. We know our value. We know how we can help salespeople grow. We know how we can help average salespeople become great, and great salespeople become legendary. Our training, our coaching, the accountability that we have through our system, and then the increased advertising spend are all things that are working to the advantage of my real estate agents. And it's why we're seeing an influx of people want to join our team. So if you're one of those people, if you're not hitting it where you're at, maybe you don't have the right leader, maybe you don't have the right system, maybe you need to accept some coaching and accountability, and quite frankly, you probably have to work a little harder. You know, when we see a 40% drop in transactions, you can't keep doing the same things you were doing before. You need coaching and you need experience of people that have been through some of the down markets to coach you how to properly price a home when the market's tough, how to properly set expectations with a client where you're only used to selling homes when they just fly off the shelf. So if that's you, again, hit us up at jointheduo.com. We would love to talk to you about, how we can help you level up your career. Again, that's jointheduo.com. We are looking to hire agents. We have agents. We have team members that set appointments for you. We have a database of over 200,000 people, and just a massive opportunity for the right people. But I'm going to be honest for a second, okay? If you're somebody that wants to do things your way, if you're somebody that's set in your ways or pretentious or not a team player, or you got an enormous ego but you sold 2 homes last year, or you're not coachable and you know it all even though you're broke, I don't want you. We don't want you on our team. We want the people that are willing to grind and do the work. We're going to pour into you, but I can't create your work ethic. And the real estate agents that are failing right now, most of them, it's because they lack work ethic and they lack coachability. They know it all. Their ego gets in the way. They're worried about whose sign is in the yard and who gets credit for the sale. They did 2 sales last year. Would you rather, what matters more to you, the money you take home to your family, or what you get to tell what awards you get for, putting 2 signs in a yard? Our goal is to help level salespeople up, but they've got to understand that we do it our way. It's been massively successful, and there are agents that make more money than they've ever made in their life if they're coachable and they're willing to plug into our system. But if you don't have a work ethic, if you don't work hard, you think you know it all, you got a massive ego, please don't apply because you're not the right fit for us. So again, if you are the right fit, if that's not you, we'd love to talk to you. Jointheduo.com. Again, that is jointheduo.com. And when we aren't on there, like I mentioned before, at the Duncan Duo, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, you can follow me personally. My Instagram is usually full of cars. So if you go to my Instagram page and you expect to see my personal Instagram, now our team page at the Duncan Duo has all kinds of, it's all real estate, right? It's our brand. It's us talking about what we're doing in the market. But if you go to my personal page, you'll certainly see a real estate thing here and there, but what I do isn't who I am, so more on my Instagram page about, me and my hobbies, and cars are a big part of that. So again, I'm the Andrew Duncan Instagram, and you can find me on Facebook as well. So, one of the things that I'm seeing right now out in the real estate market, and especially with home sellers, and I talk about this a lot, but it's the inability for home sellers to listen on price. Price has never mattered more than it does right now. Home buyers are scared, okay, here. They saw what happened in the storms, saw people lose a bunch of money, saw people be underinsured. They're scared. They're scared about the economy. They're scared about interest rates. And I know, having done this for 20 years, I know the opportunity is coming. Okay, the opportunity to gain and create wealth, buy investments, grow businesses, it's on the way, especially in the real estate sector. Like I said, I think it's 26 and 27. We're going to see some banner years. So I'm leveling up and preparing and putting things in place to capitalize on that, okay? The typical home seller and even real estate agent doesn't have the vision or the experience to kind of see that. So we struggle a lot with home sellers today who don't quite realize what you have to do to knock a buyer off the fence. If you're going to sell today, you got to look like a good deal. You got to be priced well, because if prices continue to, not go up, all right, even though we've seen a little bit of a blip recently, but a lot of neighborhoods, some better than others, a lot of neighborhoods we're seeing price depression. So if prices are dropping and you're a home seller and you start your house overpriced, you're screwed. There's a very good chance that you will not be able to correct, and no amount of marketing fixes a bad price, okay? I'm a big car guy, and you can see a bad car with a bad Carfax, and it's dinged up and beat up. Doesn't matter how many videos that car dealership puts out about that property, or about that car. It doesn't matter how many influencers go and talk about how cool it is, okay? It does not matter. It's overpriced, okay? And that's what a lot of home sellers are doing today. And then the problem is, because we live in a vanity, ego-driven social media market where everyone wants social gratification and they want people to chase what they want and they want to be liked and they want people to like what they like, because that's the environment we're in, the more days on market you pile up, the more buyers are just going to reject your house, think something's wrong with it, and not get the social gratification of feeling like other people wanted the home and they got it, okay? So if you overprice your home at the beginning, when you go to cut the price, you missed it. It's too late. Prices are dropping. Now you're only at the price that you should have been 2 months ago, okay? So the smartest sellers today are pricing ahead of that. They're pricing under market. They're making a deal so valuable to the buyer that it knocks the buyer off the fence, sometimes more than one buyer. But the point is that if you're going to sell today, that's the strategy you have to do, because if you price it high and then you lower it, you're just simply chasing it. And then by the time you get the price right, you've been on the market for 4 months and every buyer is going to skip next. So if the best piece of advice I can give you as a home seller today is price your home very aggressively. Cut to the chase. If you're like, well, let's put it out there at 500, but if we got a 450, we'd take it. Put it on for 450, okay? Cut to the chase. Don't gamble. Don't overprice your house. It's going to sit on the market. It's not going to sell, okay? Then you're going to have to lower it, and then you're going to lower it, and then guess what? By then, it's too late. Now everyone's clicking next. Your best opportunity is your first few weeks on the market. If you're overpriced for the first few weeks or the first month and it doesn't move, the market has told you it's not that number. The real estate agent, even an appraiser, everyone has an opinion. The buyer, all of that doesn't matter. Your opinion of what your home is worth doesn't matter. Lose your emotional attachment to it and think like a business person and price it so that someone will buy it. If you price it what you think it's worth, okay, it's not going to sell. You're going to sit there and you're still going to be the highest bidder for your home months later. You've got to price aggressive today. You've got to knock buyers off the fence. You've got to look like a great deal. And you've got to get ahead of the downward trend that is, again, we talked about the stats earlier. It's not present in every neighborhood, but it's present in a lot of them. Okay, Shore Acres. We had one this week. Customer wants to overprice it. It's not going to sell. It's going to be a waste of time. We're going to go out there, put a sign in your yard, and we're gonna get feedback over and over, or barely any showings. Then you're going to get upset that it hasn't sold, when all along the reason it hadn't sold is because you didn't listen to us on price. So adjust your price. If your home hasn't sold, if you're going to sell it, get to your bottom line best number instantly. Don't wait, because you can't. If you wait, you missed the opportunity to get the most number of eyes on your house, and then you're just chasing. And your ability to statistically speaking, the highest list to sell price ratio homes, okay, so the ones that get the most either at or above asking price, happens very early, okay? It doesn't happen late. Don't think like 2021, like my neighbor's house did this, or 2022, my neighbor's house did this. Doesn't matter anymore. That was unicorn fairy tale fantasy land, okay? Aggressively price your home if you want to sell it. We'll be back after a quick break here on the Duncan Duo Show. So we're back here on the Duncan Duo Real Estate Show, talking about the Tampa Bay real estate market. This next segment, I really want to talk to the real estate agents out there. I mentioned earlier in the show that our team's in growth mode. We're looking to add 10 more agents to our team. You can apply for one of our open positions, jointheduo.com. You can also register for our career night. We want to pour into people. We want to help people grow, help them grow their income, help them do more production. But we want workers. We want people that are going to grind, because that's what we have to do every day in a market like this. If you don't want to work and you want money to rain from the ceiling, real estate right now ain't for you. You should go get a job somewhere. But if you're willing to grind and do the work, you can set yourself up for massive success, because I believe now is one of the best times to get into real estate, because it will force you to have solid fundamentals and not just benefit from a hot market. And then if you establish the solid fundamentals now and you have success, when the economic advantages improve and the market sprinkles some good on you, you will explode as a salesperson. You'll make more money you ever thought you'd make in your life. So real estate agents right now, though, even ones that aren't thinking about joining my team, I want to talk to you, because I want to tell you what it's going to take to be successful right now, okay? You are not going to motivate a consumer, okay? You're not that good. None of us are that good. Nobody is knocking a consumer off the fence. The economics are what knock a consumer off the fence. The property, the math, the interest rates. Right now, it is survival mode for a lot of real estate agents. Your goal should be building as many connections and relationships as you can, and staying attached to, communicating with, and adding value to as many people as you possibly can, and play the long game for 26 and 27, or even maybe later this year when the economic advantages start to turn for the majority of people. Now, if you're talking to cash people or people that have cash where the rate doesn't matter, they're looking in the luxury market or looking waterfront, now is the right time, okay? It really is. And so there is an opportunity to serve that market, because those are going to rebound. This is a short-term blip because the hurricanes, all that stuff's going to rebound and do massively well, and they should be acting. But people that are payment driven aren't going to get motivated right now. They're simply not going to, because payments are going to be too high. Rates, taxes, insurance, none of that is going to line up and knock people off the fence. The people who are going to move right now are the ones that are going to have to. Anyone that doesn't have to is going to likely kick the can down the road. So as a real estate agent, if you want to succeed right now, you need to double the number of people you're communicating with, or triple. You need to get good at video. You get good at video, because if you're not doing video and you're not putting yourself out there on social media, and you don't even have your brokerage name in your social media, you're missing out on the best opportunity as a real estate agent. Your sphere of influence isn't going to use you. They don't even see you. You're a secret agent. They're going to give business to other agents that are putting themselves out there and staying top of mind to their friends and family. You got to double or triple the number of people you communicate with. You got to get decent at video. You got to put some video content out. You've got to make it so that someone, even if you're on a team like mine, I tell my agents, if you're a secret agent on social media and you're not putting out video and you're not putting out content, someone comes through the company and they get assigned to you and they Google you and they can't find anything and they don't see any videos, they think you're some fake BS part-time agent. They're not going to trust you. They're not going to call you back. So if you want to improve your conversion, if you want to improve your experience as a real estate agent, get better at video, put video out, double or triple the number of people you're communicating with. If you do that, okay, whatever success you're having right now, if you do that for the next year, the economics are going to sprinkle an advantage on you, and all the extra contacts and work that you're going to do right now that may not pay you right now, okay? But you're investing in the future of your career. It's going to pay you a year or two down the line. You do those things, your income is going to explode in 26 and 27. And then you're going to have a long-standing great career. Perfect example, exactly what I did, okay? I got into the business 2000 in the mid-2000s, and then Great Recession showed up. Doubled and tripled the number of people I communicated with. And then guess what happened to my income? Doubled and tripled. I just worked harder. Just outworked people. And those are the real estate agents that are going to survive and thrive. Now's grind time. Now's the time you got to put in the time, make more calls, make more contacts, communicate with more people. And then guess what? The market will sprinkle some advantages on you. The market will improve. Interest rates will improve. Taxes, property taxes might go away and bump our market way up. And then we'll get population growth again. All these things are in the works that I think, again, show towards 26 or 27 being a banner year for real estate. So if you're a real estate agent and you need somebody to kind of push you, you want that coaching, you want that accountability, you want somebody saying, hey, you're not on the phone enough. You didn't make enough calls. You didn't make enough dials. Those are the people we want. People that accept, I don't want victimhood. Okay. Oh, the market's so bad. It's this, it's that. I'm not going to be successful. I don't want that. Okay. If you're willing to be held accountable to standards, measurable stuff that we can track and show that you're going to improve and be successful, that's what we want. We want people that are going to work and grind, that are coachable, that will do the activity. You don't do the activity, you're not going to have the success. Why get into real estate? Go do something else. Money ain't raining from the ceiling anymore. Sunshine, unicorn, fairy tale, fantasy land is over. Okay? It's gone. The real estate agents that got in and made a bunch of money and thought it was easy, it's over. Now, a lot of those people are going to get exited because they're not going to change. They're not going to improve their work ethic, and the market isn't just going to rain money on them. They're struggling. They need the coaching. They need the accountability. If that's you and you're a worker and you're coachable and you're a team player, we want you. JoinTheDuo.com. Again, that is JoinTheDuo.com. We're always looking for great, talented people. We want to add 10 agents in the next couple of months based on the number of leads we're generating and the size of our database and the expectations that we have about where the market is going for next year, because we want to train and coach you now so that you're ready to rock next year. Again, JoinTheDuo.com, and thank you so much for tuning in, and have an awesome rest of your Sunday, Tampa Bay.